The Oasis Forum, a powerful alliance of Zambia's church, civil society and legal institutions, held a media conference to reaffirm its resolute opposition to the ongoing constitutional reform process anchored on the controversial Bill No. 7 of 2025. Despite earlier calls for reform, the government has failed to heed critical concerns raised by the stakeholders. These include the appointment of a technical committee without stakeholder consultation, the absence of a legal framework to guide the project and committee's work, a rush timeline tied to the 2026 elections, among others. The Oasis Forum warns that the current process is not citizen-driven, but rather a partisan maneuver to support the ruling party's electoral prospects. They argue that the technical committee's terms of reference unfairly restrict public input and disrupt the process already deemed illegitimate. In response, the forum has relaunched the Coalition Against Bill 7, a nationwide crusade to defend constitutional integrity. Under this banner, they have resolved that they will not participate in the technical committee's consultations, to petition the Constitutional Court to declare the process a nullity, to write an open letter to the President urging him to halt the reform, to launch a Black Friday campaign with black ribbons, car discs, and coordinated honking every Friday to engage members of Parliament and remind them of their duty to uphold the Constitution, among others.
I want to begin by indicating that the Oasis Forum rejects Bill 7 being legitimized using the technical committee appointed to consult the people and draft amendments to the Constitution. And this position is being given today, the 10th November 2025, here at Mary KAZUNGA Hall, NGOCC Secretariat. The Oasis Forum, a consortium comprising the church, civil society, and the legal profession, including the Council of Churches in Zambia, CCZ, the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, EFZ, the Law Association of Zambia, LAZ, the Non-Governmental Gender Organizations Coordinating Council, NGOCC, and the Zambia Conference of Catholic Bishops, ZCCB, has resolved to unequivocally state its position on the current constitutional reform process anchored by the technical committee appointed by the President on the 7th October 2025 to consult the people and draft amendments to the Constitution of Zambia. On the 16th of October 2025, as some of you may recall, the Oasis Forum issued its position, raising various concerns with the technical committee, urging government to take corrective measures to ensure that the current process avoids the pitfalls of Bill 7 of 2025. The key concerns were as follows. We pointed out that appointment and composition of the technical committee was not stakeholder-based. We also pointed out lack of legal framework governing the work of the technical committee, as well as a timeline must not be tied to the 2026 election. And the fourth issue was that Bill 7 was dead and must not influence the current process. In light of those concerns then, we urged His Excellency the President to rectify the anomaly by inviting nominations from key stakeholder institutions to ensure inclusivity and legitimacy of the technical committee. We called upon government to enact a legal framework to guide and protect the work of the technical committee to ensure independence, transparency, and accountability. We also strongly urged that the timeline and roadmap of the technical committee not to be linked to the 2026 general elections, as doing so would undermine inclusivity and national consensus. We also called upon government to formally withdraw Bill No. 7 from the floor of the National Assembly to demonstrate good faith, because any attempt to base consultations or draft amendments on the discredited bill would amount to resurrecting an illegitimate process and would erode public confidence. Unfortunately, government has not heeded these and other calls from various stakeholders to be a facilitator and not driver of the constitutional reform process to the exclusion of citizens and other stakeholders. It has now become apparent that the current constitutional reform process anchored on Bill 7 is being driven for narrow partisan interests to bolster the chances of the United Party for National Development, UPND, in the 2026 elections. Bill 7 has nothing to do with the interests of citizens. We want to underscore that we have the following concerns with the current constitutional reform process. 1, appointment and composition of the technical committee, not stakeholder-based. The members of the technical committee were appointed in their individual capacities and appointed without any consultations with stakeholders, hence are not accountable to any other person except the appointing authority, who is the president. Secondly, there is lack of legal framework governing the work of the technical committee. The absence of a governing framework to assure functional autonomy and credibility of the process, which ultimately protects content, a process that should be citizen-driven, is exposed to undue executive influence. Number 3, timeline of the current process is tied to the 2026 elections. The roadmap given to the technical committee clearly shows that this is a rushed process to make electoral-related amendments to the Constitution and not a holistic reform to the supreme law of the land, which must include an expanded Bill of Rights for the benefit of citizens. Fourthly, the entire process is about Bill 7, whose initiation was already declared unconstitutional, hence a nullity. From the terms of reference given and accepted by the technical committee, it is clear that the current process is aimed at legitimizing and resurrecting an illegitimate process, which the Constitutional Court has categorically declared a nullity for breaching various provisions of the Constitution. The terms of reference unfairly restrict members of the public to issues which have been unilaterally drawn up by the UPND government and not what the public consider pertinent and for their benefit. The result of the process will not be a constitution to benefit the public, who had no input in isolating issues they consider important, but for the UPND government who drew up the terms. Incredibly, Bill 7 continues to remain on the floor of the National Assembly without being withdrawn, and what the technical committee will also be a Bill 7 remains mind-boggling. That government has refused to formally withdraw Bill 7 from the floor of the National Assembly is a regrettable breakdown of the rule of law, as executive is clearly failing or refusing to give effect to the orders of the Constitutional Court in Munia Zulu and Celestine Mukandila, this is the Attorney General, which declared the initiation of Bill 7 of 2025 unconstitutional and therefore a nullity. Having declared the initiation process a nullity, the reform process is required to start afresh before a neutral body and not continue Bill 7 under the technical committee. Despite being fully aware of these and many other concerns with the current constitutional reform process, government has conveniently decided to ignore these concerns. In the circumstances, as Oasis Forum, we re-echo our opposition to Bill 7, as the same is only being legitimized using the technical committee appointed to consult the people and draft amendments to the Constitution. In an effort to build momentum against the current reform process by the UPND government, the Oasis Forum is today relaunching the coalition against Bill 7, which it initially launched on the 16th of June 2025 as a crusade to be led by Oasis Forum to highlight the dangers and oppose the current narrow, non-inclusive, and election-centered reform process being undertaken by government. Under this banner, going forward, we have resolved not to participate in making submissions to the technical committee constituted by government to legitimize Bill 7. Participating in this rigged process, which is a sham and contemptuous, only serves to sanitize the process whose result will not be inclusive and not holistic and not serve the interests of citizens. We have resolved to petition the Constitutional Court to declare the current process a nullity and contemptuous for failing to comply with its earlier pronouncements, as well as unconstitutional for violating the same provisions found mandatory in the earlier case. Number 3, we shall be formally writing to the President an open letter urging him to provide leadership and halt this process. Number 4, Black Friday campaign. Black is the color of the crusade, which represents the power of the Zambian people on the national flag. We shall undertake a nationwide campaign encouraging the wearing of black ribbon, placing black card discs to signify mourning for the constitutional integrity. Every Friday, we shall undertake a honking campaign, coordinated car honking from 15 hours to 17 hours, countrywide, to protest this unwarranted interference with the supreme law of our land. Fifthly, we shall write to each and every member of parliament to remind them of their constitutional duty to protect national interest and public will, and urge them not to support any amendment bill that undermines constitutional principles. Number 6, we are writing to the Inspector General of Police notifying him of our plan to conduct a march past against Bill 7 on Independence Avenue from Freedom Statue to State House on Friday, 28th November 2025. 7, we are calling on civil society organizations, traditional leaders, faith-based organizations, as well as all well-meaning citizens to join the crusade against Bill 7. In conclusion, we, the Oasis Forum, comprising of CCZ, EFZ, LAS, NGOCC, and ZCCB, reaffirm our unwavering commitment to the promotion of constitutionalism, rule of law, and good governance, which are essential for Zambia's democratic advancement and the welfare of all its citizens. I thank you.
The forum, comprising the Council of Churches in Zambia, the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, the Law Association of Zambia, the Non-Governmental Gender Organizations Coordinating Council, the Zambia Conference of Catholic Bishops, declared that the process lacks legitimacy, transparency, and inclusivity. It has since reaffirmed its commitment to constitutionalism, the rule of law, and the good governance pillars essential to Zambia's democratic advancement and the welfare of its people.